LiberalViewer presents.
So, welcome to a special LiberalViewer Trump versus Putin Helsinki Summit live clip roundup. Thanks for joining me. Oh my, oh my, oh my, I could not believe my eyes, which is why I had to do this special edition live clip roundup showing you just where Donald Trump went off the rails in his Helsinki press conference with Vladimir Putin. And I'll be showing you several clips so you can see for yourself just how bad it was. But actually, the first clip I want to show you is the one from which I got the title of this video, Trump is Putin's Puppet, ? Because I couldn't stop thinking about that famous exchange between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in the October 16th, 2016 Fox News debate about who is really Putin's puppet. And in fact, if you click up in the corner here, you can answer my viewer poll about whether Trump is Putin's puppet, yes or no. But first, let's watch that famous "No puppet, you're the puppet" exchange that I edited down to the minute 48-second clip you can see here.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race. So I think that this is such an unprecedented situation. We've never had a foreign government trying to interfere in our election. We have 17 intelligence agencies, civilian and military, who have all concluded that these espionage attacks, these cyber attacks, come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and they are designed to influence our election. I find that deeply disturbing, and I think it's time.
She has no idea whether it's Russia, China, or anybody else.
I am not quoting myself.
No idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you have no idea.
17 do you doubt 17
our
military
has
and
no
civilian
idea.
Agencies? Well,
yeah,
he'd rather believe Vladimir Putin than the military and civilian intelligence professionals who are sworn to protect us. I find that just absolutely.
She doesn't like Putin because Putin has outsmarted her at every step of the way. Excuse me. Putin has outsmarted her in Syria. He's outsmarted her every step of the way.
So I think we have a little better idea of who Putin is outsmarting after today's press conference, as I'll show starting with the next clip. But doesn't that argument look a lot different with everything we now know about Russian interference in the 2016 election? And I'll show you a clip in a few minutes in which Putin actually resolves that argument they were having about who Putin wanted to win the 2016 presidential election in what actually might be Putin's most damning statement for Trump, But before I get to that, first, I want, give me the opportunity, I want to show you, First, I want to show you the first opportunity that the press gave Donald Trump to stand up to Putin when Reuters reporter Jeff Mason called President Trump on his tweet the night before. And here you can see that tweet right here. And you can see basically Trump blamed U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and the Mueller probe for bad relations with Russia. So the reporter gives Trump a chance to hold Russia accountable for literally anything, which Trump failed to do, despite starting out by saying he's going to hold both countries responsible. And this is a big piece of evidence as to why you might want to vote that Trump is Putin's puppet in the little poll that I have going here. But anyway, here's the first opportunity that Trump missed to stand up to Putin that I will discuss with you after we watch it together over here.
This goes to Jeff Mason from Reuters.
Thank you. Mr. President, you tweeted this morning that it's U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and the Mueller probe that is responsible for the decline in U.S. relations with Russia. Do you hold Russia at all accountable for anything in particular? And if so, what would you consider them that they are responsible for?
Yes, I do. I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish. We should have had this dialogue a long time ago, a long time, frankly, before I got to office. And I think we're all to blame. I think that the United States now has stepped forward along with Russia, and we're getting together, and we have a chance to do some great things, whether it's nuclear proliferation in terms of stopping. We have to do it. Ultimately, that's probably the most important thing that we can be working on. But I do feel that we have both made some mistakes. I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated. There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it. People are being brought out to the fore. So far that I know, virtually none of it related to the campaign. And they're going to have to try really hard to find somebody that did relate to the campaign. That was a clean campaign. I beat Hillary Clinton easily, and frankly, we beat her, and I'm not even saying from the standpoint, we won that race, and it's a shame that there can even be a little bit of a cloud over it. People know that, people understand it, but the main thing, and we discussed this also, is zero collusion, and it has had a negative impact upon the relationship of the two largest nuclear powers in the world. We have 90% of nuclear power between the two countries. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on with the probe.
For President Putin, if I could follow up as well, why should Americans and why should President Trump believe your statement that Russia did not intervene in the 2016 election, given the evidence that U.S. intelligence agencies have provided? And will you consider extraditing the 12 Russian officials that were indicted last week by a U.S. grand jury?
Well, I'm going to let the president answer the second part of that question. But as you know, the whole concept of that came up perhaps a little bit before, but it came out as a reason why the Democrats lost an election, which, frankly, they should have been able to win because the Electoral College is much more advantageous for Democrats, as you know, than it is to Republicans. We won the Electoral College by a lot, 306 to 223, I believe, and that was a well-fought battle. We did a great job, and frankly, I'm going to let the president speak to the second part of your question, but just to say it one time again, and I say it all the time, there was no collusion. I didn't know the president. There was nobody to collude with. There was no collusion with the campaign. And every time you hear all of these, 12 and 14, it's stuff that has nothing to do, and frankly, they admit, these are not people involved in the campaign. But to the average reader out there, they're saying, well, maybe that does. It doesn't. And even the people involved, some perhaps told mis-stories, although in one case the FBI said there was no lie. There was no lie. Somebody else said there was. We ran a brilliant campaign, and that's why I'm president. Thank you.
I don't know what's with that weird thank you Trump has been putting at the end of his answers, maybe because they kind of ramble and he doesn't want people to not understand that he's done. But did you hear Trump actually hold Russia accountable for anything in that answer? I mean, I suppose it could be all about Trump's ego, because he can't hear anyone talk about Russian interference in the U.S. election without thinking it reflects on him and the legitimacy of his win. But that whole foray into the thing about the Electoral College was, it was embarrassing at least. And did you see how Trump grabbed onto the first part of the question Jeff Mason was actually asking Vladimir Putin? And what was that rambling part near the end about the FBI said there was no lie, but somebody said there was? I think that actually might be a reference to Michael Flynn, who pled guilty to lying to the FBI, even though some of the agents who interviewed him, this is like the big right-wing conspiracy, that there are notes that the agents that interviewed him weren't sure if he was lying or misremembering. But in that case, the somebody who said he did lie was Michael Flynn, because he actually pled guilty to lying. But Anyway, before I even get into the more damning clip of Trump refusing to believe his own U.S. intelligence agencies over Vladimir Putin, I wanted to show Putin's response to the indictment of the 12 Russian GRU agents for hacking the U.S. election. And I'm going to show this clip all the way through to this damning admission from Putin that I mentioned. And this is just under 4 minutes, this clip of Putin also responding to that question from Jeff Mason of Reuters over in this clip.
Now, let's get back to the issue of these 12 alleged intelligence officers of Russia. I don't know the full extent of the situation, but the President Trump mentioned this issue, and I will look into it. So far, I can say the following. The things that, off the top of my head, we have an existing agreement between the United States of America and the Russian Federation, an existing treaty that dates back to 1999, the mutual assistance on criminal cases. This treaty is in full effect. It works quite efficiently. On an average, we initiate about 150 criminal cases upon requests from foreign states. For instance, the last year, there was one extradition case upon the request sent by the United States. So this treaty has specific legal procedures. We can offer that the appropriate commission headed by Special Attorney Mueller, he can use this treaty as a solid foundation and send an official request to us so that we would hold a questioning of these individuals who he believes are privy to some crimes. And our law enforcement are perfectly able to do this questioning and send the appropriate materials to the United States. Moreover, we can meet you halfway. We can make another step. We can actually permit official representatives of the United States, including the members of this very commission headed by Mr. Mueller, we can let them into the country and they will be present at this questioning. But in this case, there's another condition. This kind of effort should be a mutual one. Then we would expect that the Americans would reciprocate and they would question officials, including the officers of law enforcement and intelligence services of the United States, whom we believe who have something to do with illegal actions on the territory of Russia. And we have to request the presence of our law enforcement. For instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia. They never paid any taxes, neither in Russia nor in the United States. And yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, $400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that some intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions. So we have an interest of questioning them. But we can that could be a first step, and we can also extend it. Options abound, and they all can be found in an appropriate legal framework.
And did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
Now, I'll get to that damning admission right there at the end that kind of got cut off. The question got a little cut off, and I'll give you a better version of it. But first, I wanted to give a little background on that weird offer Putin made to let FBI agents watch as Russian law enforcement agents question Russian military intelligence officers from the GRU about their involvement in the 2016 election hacking. It's almost like Putin was trolling Trump, because when Putin got to that part about reciprocity, he mentioned wanting to question Bill Browder, who's the guy who got the Magnitsky Act passed, which sanctions Russian oligarchs, and it's named after Bill Browder's murdered Russian accountant, possibly murdered by the corrupt Russian forces that they were investigating. And it's also the same Magnitsky Act that the Russians wanted to discuss with Don Jr. in that famous June 2016 meeting in Trump Tower to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. So is that Putin trolling Trump? You tell me what you think down in the comment section. But what you also may not have heard, like I said in that last part, you can't hear the beginning of Jeff Mason's question, where he actually asked Vladimir Putin to resolve the argument that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were having back in October 2016. Who did Putin want to win the election? And this is the New York Times version of that. You can hear what Jeff Mason of Reuters was saying a little better, and Putin's answer again over in this clip.
President Putin, did you want President Trump to win the election, and did you direct any of your officials to help him do that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal.
So there you can see Vladimir Putin admitting that it was Donald Trump who he wanted to win the election. And that's all settled now, I guess. But before I finish, I want to show you the last 7 minutes of the press conference with a little bit that I edited out in which Putin was discussing Crimea. But this is the most damning thing that Trump said, I think, in addition to the stuff I showed before, because in this clip, the AP reporter, Jonathan Lemire, gives Trump the choice of believing Putin or his own intelligence agencies. And he gets a response that not only refuses to choose, but goes off on several tangents, including the famous "but her emails" excuse. And there's more than that in there, too, which I will discuss after we watch this final clip from the clips that I've rounded up for you today over here.
The United States will go to Jonathan Lemire from the AP.
Thank you. Question for each president. President Trump, yes. You first. Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. My first question for you, sir, is who do you believe? My second question is, would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
So let me just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months, and I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know, where is the server, and what is the server saying? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin, he just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. But I have confidence in both parties. I really believe that this will probably go on for a while, but I don't think it can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What happened to the servers of the Pakistani gentleman that worked on the DNC? Where are those servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? 33,000 emails gone, just gone. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace that we can't get Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. Okay? Thank you. Yes, please.
I'd like to add something to this. After all, I was an intelligence officer myself. And I do know how dossiers are made up. Just a second. That's the first thing. Now the second thing. I believe that Russia is a democratic state, and I hope you're not denying this right to your own country. You're not denying that United States is a democracy. Do you believe United States is a democracy? And if so, if it is a democratic state, then the final conclusion in this kind of a dispute can only be delivered by a trial, by the court, not by the executive, by the law enforcement. For instance, the Concord company that was brought up is being accused. It's been accused of interference. But this company does not constitute the Russian state. It does not represent the Russian state. And I brought several examples before. Well, you have a lot of individuals in the United States, take George Soros, for instance, with multi-billion capitals. But does that make him, his position, his posture, the posture of the United States? No, it does not. Well, it's the same case. There is the issue of trying a case in the court, and the final say is for the court to deliver. We are now talking about the private, the individuals, and not about particular states. And as far as the most recent allegation is concerned about the Russian intelligence officers, we do have an intergovernmental treaty. Please do send us the request. We will analyze it properly and we'll send a formal response. And as I said, we can extend this cooperation, but we should do it on a reciprocal basis, because we would await our Russian counterparts to provide us access to the persons of interest for us, who we believe can have something to do with the intelligence services. Let's discuss the specific issues and not use the Russia and the U.S. relationship as a loose change for this internal political struggle.
A question for President Putin. Thank you. Two questions for you, sir. Can you tell me what President Trump may have indicated to you about officially recognizing Crimea as part of Russia? And then secondly, sir, does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
And now to the compromising material. Yeah, I did hear these rumors that we allegedly collected compromising material on Mr. Trump when he was visiting Moscow. Well, distinguished colleague, let me tell you this. When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. I treat President Trump with utmost respect. But back then, when he was a private individual, a businessman, nobody informed me that he was in Moscow. Well, let's take St. Petersburg Economic Forum, for instance. There were over 500 American businessmen, the high-ranking, the high-level ones. I don't even remember the last names of each and every one of them. Well, do you think that we try to collect compromising material on each and every single one of them? Well, it's difficult to imagine another nonsense of a bigger scale than this. Well, please just disregard these issues and don't think about this anymore again.
It would have been out long ago. And if anybody watched Peter Strzok testify over the last couple of days, and I was in Brussels watching it, it was a disgrace to the FBI. It was a disgrace to our country. And you would say that was a total witch hunt. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, not only did Donald Trump attack an FBI agent there on foreign soil in front of the foreign leader who that FBI agent was investigating for a cyber attack on our country, but Trump also started off by saying that he didn't know who to believe between U.S. intelligence agencies and that foreign former KGB agent Vladimir Putin. I mean, wow. So, like I said, don't forget to vote in the poll here about whether Trump is Putin's puppet, and give me a thumbs up, and give me a supportive comment if you like what I did here today, you know, giving you the full context of the clips along with my commentary. And down in the video description, there are more ways to support my media criticism and political analysis channel. And until the regular time on Sunday or the next just wow Trump event that I have to cover with a unscheduled live stream, I guess I will be seeing all of you around the internet.